Welcome to Atlanta where the players play and we ride on them things like every day. I'm Matt Faulkner and this is Overtime. On this episode of Overtime, we're going to be talking a little bit about what was done in Atlanta over the winter to convert it from an intermediate style track to a superspeedway style track. I think commonly when we think of superspeedways, we think of tracks like Daytona and Talladega, where there's a lot of pack racing, there's big crashes, and the cars are pretty much wide open throttle the entire time around the corners. Whereas Atlanta in the past has been more of an intermediate style track like Texas, Charlotte, Kentucky, Kansas, where you cannot stay wide open all the way around. The pack spreads out more, and there are definitely less giant wrecks compared to what there were yesterday. So today we'll talk a little bit about what was done to accomplish this over the winter. All right, so first thing, new asphalt surface. If you recall Atlanta last year, the last race that was raced there on the old surface, the track was actually breaking apart into pieces. I think there was a caution or multiple cautions during the race where they actually had to repair the track to keep the race going because the asphalt was pulling up. The asphalt at Atlanta was close to 30 years old. It was old, crackly, brittle, hard to drive on, super bumpy. And even though this was fun, there were a lot of proponents of keeping that surface at Atlanta for as long as possible. It had pretty much reached the point of not being able to complete a race there. So track officials decided to repave Atlanta and put a new, smooth, less bumpy, brand new asphalt surface on the track that caters more in and of itself to speedway style racing and wide open throttle style racing. The second thing we'd like to highlight of why Atlanta is more of a super speedway than it was in the past is bank angle. So the track used to be 24 degrees of banking, but now it's 28. So when we say bank angle, essentially what we're talking about is the angle of the corner in the turn. So Atlanta used to be a 24 degree bank angle, and now it's 28. So it's more banked than it was. And if you think about it, I think the best real life example would be a roller coaster. If you're on a roller coaster and the roller coaster starts to bank up and go around a corner, the more that corner is banked, the faster the roller coaster can go around the corner without flipping off the rails. It's kind of the same in NASCAR. The more the track is banked, the faster the car can go around there and still maintain wide open throttle and go as fast as it can. The third thing we'd like to talk about what makes Atlanta more of a super speedway now is the car package itself. And with next gen, there are very few differences between the super speedway package and the package we run everywhere else. And those two things are a taller rear spoiler, which increases drag and slows the car down essentially, and a smaller tapered spacer, which reduces horsepower from 670 horsepower to 510 horsepower for tracks like Atlanta, Daytona, and Talladega. Frankly, the only difference between Daytona and Talladega and Atlanta now is a little bit of shake and bake.
No sense, it's shake and bake, it's nonsense.
The combination between the smaller tapered spacer and the spoiler slows the car down and makes you need to be wide open throttle through the corners. And this caters to speedway style racing, pack style racing, racing where you need to rely on the draft, racing where the only way to pass, frankly, is to engage the slingshot.
Slingshot engaged.
So those three things, track surface, bank angle, and car aerodynamic and power package, have essentially converted Atlanta from an intermediate track to a super speedway. And I think the fans love it. We're just watching on TV, listening to the radio this morning. There were more lead changes, there were more wrecks. There was more excitement than there's been in Atlanta in the past. Even though Atlanta's been exciting in its own regard, feels like the fans love what's happening there now. We'll go back there later this year and do it again. That is it for this episode of Overtime. As always, if you have any questions regarding this episode or ideas for a future episode, feel free to post in the comments below, and have a great week.